Two new Tier 3 commanders just hit Lord of the Rings Rise to War, and like probably every other content creator for this game, I'm going to make videos about them, talking about my first impressions. Let's get into it. Beorn is the new T3 commander for good factions. He is a warrior. That's going to be important as we talk about his skill tree. And he is a Beorning. I wanted to point this out because as of this patch, Beornings now get bonuses from equipment and skills as if they were men and also beasts. So a nice little buff, not anything too crazy for them, but I do think that will help them out a little bit. His unique item is the Tribal Mortal Bond. I wanted to point this out as well because this bad boy has 16 base might. If you compare that to the Ent Drought Calabash at 10 might or even Erebor's Pride also at 10 might, you can see that this has a considerable amount of might, higher than any other accessory that currently exists in this game, at least to my knowledge, and the trait on it gives him even more might. And I do point that out because as we're going to talk about his skills, I think this guy's going to want to stack as much might as possible. And of course, if there are orcs around, this guy does not like orcs, by the way, he gets even more might. I think you can already see where I'm going in this video. As far as his skills go, I think there are two trees that stand out above the rest, that being the top R0 skin changer tree and the R5 enemy of the orcs tree. The skin changer title is a prep 4, which means this is going to go off on round 4 and last for the rest of combat. He is going to gain 60% increased might, and as far as I can tell from the few reports and things that I've seen of this guy so far, this 60% might bonus applies to base might and might from equipment. I point that out because I believe there are some other percent stat increases that only affect the stats, the base stats of the commander, whereas this is going to increase also the might that you gain from equipment, which is why I was just talking about it. Why, in my opinion, stacking might on this guy is going to be the name of the game. He also gets Madness Immunity, which is almost a little bit pointless because it goes off in round 4. Grima's like the only person I think that has Madness that can hit a commander after round 4. But that's really neither here nor there. Still a good title for the way I think this guy is going to play out. On top of that, he has the Awe skill, only a 1-round cooldown, and it has Rush, which means it goes off on the first round as well. And basically, this is going to deal damage. It hits all enemies, and then you have a chance to silence the enemy commander when you hit 250 might, and you have this damage reduction against the enemy commander, which will be useful against some commanders, but not too many. Could make him very, very good in the glass cannon mirror match, though, because hitting 400 might on this guy is not going to be a problem. Some early theory crafting that I have seen puts him at like 700 might after shapeshifting. That's not an exaggeration. It will require gold gear, of course, but you'll easily hit these breakpoints as far as the 250 might and the 400 might go. However, hitting all enemies so many times per combat is pretty nice. He also has Bear Smash, another 1-round cooldown skill, which has some might breakpoints. And guess what? This does more damage. If we look at Enemy of the Orcs, this is a round 2 cooldown, or I should say 2-round cooldown skill that also has Rush. And guess what? It does damage. And because this guy really doesn't like orcs, if there are orcs around, it's going to deal even more damage. Like I said towards the beginning of this video, I think you can see already where I'm going for this. Then, I should say going with this. He has Impact, does some damage, and comes with a nice chance to do some Madness and or Stun. And Slash, another ability that hits all enemies, doing some damage, and preventing them from recovering health for 1 round of combat. So in my opinion, those are his 2 best skill trees and will get you pretty far with this guy. I think the best way to play this guy is going to be as a glass cannon style damage commander. He's a warrior. He can get a whole bunch of might. Skin Changer gives him even more might, and he has plenty of damage abilities to take advantage of that might. And what's really nice about this guy is a lot of his abilities have extra little effects, like bleed, like chances to do extra damage, like silencing, reducing enemy commander damage, preventing healing. And if there are orcs around, you know, like if Sunend is around, guess what? You get to deal even more damage. Plus, throw in some stun, add madness. What is not to like about this guy? Well, What's not to like about this guy, in my opinion, is I'm not sure how well he's going to scale with respect. I'm really not a fan of his bottom R0 tree. This says beasts have a chance to reduce defense for 1 round, and for the first 5 rounds, they get to deal maximum damage. This part might actually be pretty good if you run him with a gigantic hammer. However, the big drawback is that beasts are going to be gold units, which means they're going to be significantly more difficult to keep in your barracks when compared to standard units, standard T3 units, because you only get 1 hiring queue, at least in most campaigns. And they tend not to be massive damage dealers. I guess in non-RP with Mumakills, this could be absolutely nutty. But like I always say, my opinions and perspective comes from RP servers. He also has Dash, making beasts take less damage. This is only 1% per point though, so this is like half as good as most other damage reduction skills. Like if you compare this to Riding Excellence from the Rohirrim commanders, or Free Peoples from Isildur and Gandalf the Grey, that's a 14% damage reduction for 7 points. This is only going to be a 7% damage reduction for 7 points. So this skill is really questionable in my opinion. I think it should be like at least 1.5%. I guess you can make the argument that beasts have more base HP or whatever per command or per unit, but anyway. And Natural Grace, it's going to give him some healing. However, this guy's not going to be like Radagast cranking out almost 200,000 healing on beasts per fight, or even Haldir who can hit like 70-80k healing on eagles. So overall, his bottom R0 tree just doesn't seem that good for me. And unfortunately, his R3 tree basically necessitates having Beornings. However, if you do have them, I think this is a pretty solid tree overall. So after they shapeshift, they have a 5% chance of getting, well, really this is going to be like a 60% chance, because 5 times 15, or was that 80%? I should have done the math beforehand. Anyway, 5% chance per point to gain follow-up, a damage boost, or a defense increase. And if you have 15 points in this, they remove a debuff from an allied unit each round after shapeshifting. So that is really, really good in my opinion. This is what makes this skill, or this title, I should say, quite solid. And suppression is every single round against all enemies, there's a chance to make them cause less damage, reduce their defense, lower their speed for 1 round. It's decent. I think lowering speed is probably the worst part of this skill, but, you know, making enemies do less damage or effectively take more damage by lowering their defense is fine. And he gets Brawling Training. The problem with Brawling Training on Beorn is this only affects your units, and this says against enemy melee units, they take more damage. However, I really, really think this guy is going to be doing all the damage on his own. So in my opinion, fully fill out top R0 tree, fully fill out the R5 tree, and put any extra points you have from extra respect levels into Anduin Vale Chieftain and Suppression. Maybe if you can get your hands on like Beornings and Eagles and sustain your barracks, you could look at the Forest Guardian tree, but that's a super expensive army. I think for the most part, you're going to be wanting to run Beornings if you have them, and then whatever other tank units you have based on your gear, Guardians, Cataphracts, Guards of the Tower, just depending on your gear setup, whether you're buffing men or buffing dwarves. But the important thing is just get as much might as possible, and I think this guy is going to completely shred. I think he's going to be cranking out damage numbers similar or even higher than Dane. That's my initial impression on Beorn. I think he has a lot of potential. I don't know how well he's going to scale past like Respect 10. That's my concern with him. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you for watching.